Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening. How you doing? Fade to Black. That's right. Today's Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's do this, man. What a great week on Fade to Black. Monday night, Graham Nichols was here, inducing your own OBE. Last night, Tony Rodriguez, Project Star Maker. And tonight, Joanne DiMaggio is here, Soulmate versus Cellmate. Yeah, man. And then tomorrow night, Helena Wabe joins us, Noetic Sciences and Ions. What an amazing week. I'm here to get my learn on. All right. I've got 5 events coming up. All of these are in 2026 because I have emptied the calendar for 2025 to focus on the show Beyond Belief. All right. So all of this is in 2026. Conscious Life Expo, February 20th through the 23rd at the LAX Hilton. By the way, the links for everything that I'm doing next year are in the description below. Right after that is the contact mode. Excuse me. Wow. I don't do that often, do I? The Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd, 2026 in Delavan, Wisconsin at Delavan Lake and the resort. After that, Contact in the Desert, May 28th through June 1st, and tickets go on sale this Thanksgiving Day. Then I head over to the UK for the Monty Python Tour of Scotland, August 1st through the 9th, and that is, of course, in 2026. And then I head back to Peru, and this time I'm also headed to Easter Island with Brian Forrester, and that is November 2026. Wow, that's going to be 4 trips to Peru in 2 years. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty nuts. That's how much I love it down there. And if you ever want to have that paradigm shift, you want to change your life, come to Peru with us. And this time around, I get to do the bucket list check off of Easter Island. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And now I was just thinking before the show, and well, let me explain because I want to get Joanne in here. I have a very clean desk. Pretty much the studio is clean. My house is clean. Everything in, I'm one of those OCD guys, but my desk is clean. All I have in front of me are my crystals. Yes, and those are in front of me with the guitar pick, and I have my little hacky sack stress ball, hacky sack, alien hacky sack that I squeeze during the show. Right. Okay. So all of this is lined up in front of me. But over here, I have a pile and I never removed them. Remember earlier this year, maybe it was about a year ago, earlier this year when I lost my voice. Remember that? And that went on for like 4, 5, 6 months. Well, I still have a pile of Ricolas. They're just sitting here, and I never took them out of I guess maybe I'm paranoid. If I remove them from the studio, I'll lose my voice again. That was crazy, wasn't it? That went on forever. I could talk for about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then it would just fade away. Remember that? And I faked it on every show. I was talking so quiet. I was just like, just to get through the show. But here they are, the pile of Ricolas. Man, remember that? I would sneak them in during the show, and I would do probably a half dozen Ricolas during the show. I was so paranoid about losing my voice that I always wanted a Ricola in my mouth. so as soon as it was do another one, do another one, do another one. I wonder how bad that was for my teeth. Yeah. All right. It just popped up because it's so clean in here, and I saw the Ricolas, and then I just remembered why they are here. Tonight, Joanne DiMaggio joins us. The show is called, it's very appropriate, Soulmate versus Cellmate. It's going to be an amazing conversation tonight because we're going to go through this pop culture reality. What is a soulmate? Well, now we've got something new here too, a cellmate. And so we're going to jump into all of that. Everybody was chatting it up and talking about, dating sites and finding a soulmate and how people do it. And obviously I'm going to talk to Joanne about this, but it was right there. It is, I would say, and I know that Joanne's got an opinion on this, but I would say probably the most driving thing for world leaders conquering countries, going to war, or crashing your car is because of a relationship and a cellmate. I'm just saying. It's the one thing that drives us, right? Once you taste love, right? When you experience real love and it ends, that's all you do is you're on a quest for the rest of your life to go and find that. You topple countries, you go to war, you crash your car, you do all of that stuff. So we'll be talking about all of that tonight. Now, she has written 10 books. She's been on hundreds of radio shows. She has spoken around the world. She's involved with Edgar Cayce's Association for Research and Enlightenment, otherwise known as A.R.E. Since 1987, she's got a master's in Transpersonal Studies degree and her spiritual mentor certification through Atlantic University. All of that and much more. Her links are below. I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Joanne DiMaggio. She's right there.
Hi, Jimmy.
How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
You look like you're at Edgar Cayce's foundation right now. That's a beautiful.
There's a lot of Cayce books back there.
I don't want to let Cayce go. We're going to circle back to that. But before we do, you get the first time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way, which is this. Joanne, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. Now you have to accept.
I accept.
Wholeheartedly. All right. So I'm often asked, like every day, how did I get into this? Right? The TV and the films and radio and this broad stuff. How did you? And my answer is the same. And it's this. When I learned to read, so I'm going to say, could actually read. I was probably 6 years old, maybe 7. And our living room was full of books on bookshelves. And so I go up and now I can, and they were all Edgar Cayce books.
Really?
Right? Shelf after shelf. And so I'm too young. I'm like, okay, what is this? But that was my mom, and shelves and shelves and shelves of Edgar Cayce books. So my mom is fully responsible for this conversation tonight. So there you go. There you go. I asked her once, I wanted her to come on Coast to Coast with me and or Fade to Black. And she goes, why would I do that? She's in her 80s when I asked her. And I said, well, Mom, I mean, everything, you and Aunt Z and the Ouija boards and the Edgar Cayce books. She goes, that was then. I'm with the baby Jesus now. Oh, oh man. And I love her to death, man. It was an honest answer, right? That was not a lie. That was so long ago. That was then. But yeah, Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce. I haven't been to the foundation, but I hear the reading room and the library is amazing.
Yeah, that library I think is second to none
Yeah.
in terms of volume of books that they have on all different topics. It's quite wonderful.
That's what I hear. That is what I hear. So, I know that you were listening to my comments at the beginning of the show, and we have soulmate versus cellmate, which is a great title for anything. Be a good movie, maybe too, as well. But and it was interesting for me to see everyone immediately talking about dating, but it's really true, isn't it? It's got to be the top, I would guess, with your clients and the people that you interface with. Relationships is probably the focus usually.
Absolutely, but the thing is that it's not always a romantic relationship, and that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, was because I've dealt with this, from the beginning. I've been doing this work since 1987, and so I've heard it all basically, and the hundreds and hundreds of regressions that I've done, and they do all center around relationship issues. That's the truth. But it wasn't until about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that a family member came to me and said that they were getting a divorce, and they had just been married 2 years. And I said, "Why are you getting a divorce?" And he said, "Well, my wife's been reading about soulmates and twin flames and decided I was neither one, and she was going to go find hers." And I thought, now she knew the work that I did. And so the fact that she didn't even come to me and ask me about what it really is a soulmate. So then I decided, well, I'll bet that that's a misconception across the board. And I set out to do my own research, to look at what others in the field have said about it and written about it, and then do some regressions with folks who volunteered, and to discover that, soulmates are a lot more than just a romantic counterpart. I mean, they could be your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your friends, your spouse, people you work with, people at any organization you might belong to. You might be part of a group incarnation. So it's just simply anybody that you've had a past life with. That's the definition of a soulmate. And so,
Did you see the documentary on twin flames?
No.
You didn't see it?
No.
All right. I think it's Netflix. I could be wrong. It might be Amazon, but yeah. Wow. I had never heard of twin flames.
Yeah,
All
some
right.
people call them twin souls as well, and
Right.
but they're very different. That's a whole different relationship.
Well, let's get into all of that, because not only is this something that has grown into pop culture and become terms that people use very freely, and maybe not fully understanding what they're referring to. That's the first thing. But the second thing is I'm a perfect example of that. I've heard the term soulmate. I've heard people use it, but I had never heard of twin flames. I've never heard that term before. So let's start with soulmates, and let's get some definitions down.
Sure. Well, like I said, a soulmate is somebody that you've had a past life with. So we travel together from one incarnation to the other with the same group of souls. So it's like we're a soul pod, a family of souls. But we change gender and we change the roles that we play in each lifetime, depending on what our karmic lessons are in that lifetime. So that means that everyone around you is a soulmate by definition. Certainly romantic soulmates are number one on our minds because, as you said, it's all over. I mean, I saw an article in A.R.E magazine that was about soulmates. And I saw there's a TV commercial for paper towels, and they mention soulmates. So it is everywhere. But it's one of those terms that's just like the other term that really gets me is old soul.
Mm.
Oh, if they see a young child who's a prodigy, they'll go, oh, he's a very old soul. And that's not true either, because we were all created at the exact same time. The reason some feel like they're older than others is because they've been around more. They've chosen to incarnate more often than another soul did. But anyway, that's what the soulmate is. So it's somebody that you it's like your frequencies are aligned. You're just drawn to them because you've been together before. And because you have some unfinished business with them from another.
That's really cool. That's really cool. But how would you find out? Do you have to go through a regression, both of you?
You don't have to. I mean, that helps to really clarify a situation, because it'll show you, where you were before in a prior lifetime, what came up in that lifetime, what issues came up. And then you could see, oh, I'm playing them out again now. So you see the repetition of patterns from one lifetime to the next. You just bring it in with you because you have to resolve it. You can't kind of get around it.
But what if I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. But what if, okay, so the relationship is just off. It's rocket ship, right? Everything is great. And then they go and they both have some regression therapy done. And one turns to the other. That was you? You punched me in the throat. I'll never forgive you for that, right? And then suddenly the relationship falls apart because they went and had a little therapy done. It seems dangerous to me. I would say let it go. If it's working, then it's working. That's my take, but that's why I'm single. So
well, regressions answer a lot of questions. They answer, like, why are you, if you're in an abusive relationship, there's an answer to that. Why? Why did you choose your parents? What's your soul's purpose? It'll point out all your karmic lessons, and it'll help you to recognize those patterns. So I had several people in my research project, and they're in the book, who were married couples who ended up divorced. Right. Well, it's because, one of them was miserable and couldn't understand why did the spouse act this way over and over and over again. And when they went to the past life and saw where the pattern started, and they'd been with them in multiple lives, not just this one, but multiple times, to break the pattern, they knew they had to do something. And if they were that unhappy, they ended up ending the relationship. So there's
that's the crazy part, isn't it? And then you find out the love of your life was a reptilian.
No.
and that is also why the TV show Outlander is so successful.
Yeah.
Where you have this romantic this connection that spans time, and spans lifetimes and goes in and out. That explains a lot why that is something that we would all want to have.
Yeah, I've had people in my life that have been in previous lifetimes with me, and I've seen them through regression and through other forms of uncovering past life information. And they've come in and out of this life based on some of the things that were unfinished from the previous life. And sometimes it was a wonderful, beautiful relationship, and other times we were cellmates. So that was the difficult part, to recognize that, because a cellmate is a person who keeps you emotionally imprisoned. So it's cell, C-E-L-L, not cellular memory, but cell as in prison.
Yeah. I get that. I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people don't. They think it's cellular. Yeah.
No. Yeah. People read what they want to read, but no, it's definitely closing the bars. Yeah, that's just sliding the door shut. But you mentioned recognize.
Mhm.
How do, when you meet a true soulmate by your definition, and I love that. Do you recognize that right away? Does it just show itself?
Well, you feel a certain connection to them that you can't explain. So you have that whole deja vu experience with them. It's like you feel like you've known them somehow, somewhere, but you can't pinpoint it. They may now it depends on how aware you are of your own past life history, because if you've never really explored that aspect of your being, then it might be a little bit more difficult to identify them. But Shakespeare said that the eyes are the windows to the soul. The eyes are the one thing that that does not change from one lifetime to the next. So sometimes you can just look in their eyes and you can see it. But I had met someone that I had known in a prior lifetime, and her mannerisms just reminded me, from everything from the way she held a wine glass to the cadence in her voice. There's a lot of clues that'll come up for you that will help. But in a regression, one of the questions I ask when we're done with the past life part of it is, are any of the people from that life that you've identified, are they in your life now? And I caution people, I say they won't look the same. They may not even be the same gender, because your mother in this life could have been your husband in a previous life. But there'll be something about them that if you really tune in, you'll have that awareness of them. So it's sort of built into us, intuitively, that we recognize them.
Now, twin flames,
Yeah.
what are they?
Twin flames, that's a little harder to grasp. They're similar to a soulmate, but there's some interesting differences. First of all, you only have one. Whereas with soulmates, you have many, many, many soulmates, but twin flames, you only have one. And you come together for a common purpose. You have the same mission. So you're doing basically the same work, or you have the same goals in mind. You don't have to be incarnate at the same time. You could have a twin soul on the other side, and they're working with you from there. So you're separate bodies, and you're leading separate lives, but your minds think alike. So you have the same mission. So you're working on the same things together. It's a little more difficult to.
No, I've got
Yeah.
500 questions. I'm just trying to figure out where to go first here. But I say this sometimes to sound funny, only to take the pressure off of the seriousness of the statement, right? But men have died, countries have fallen for love. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a crazy maybe the most powerful emotion in the universe. That's it, right? It is that serious, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the only emotion that you really take with you. That will continue from one lifetime to the next. That emotional charge between two souls will always be there. That's one of the other ways you recognize somebody. It's an internal feeling, yearning to be with them. Yeah.
And whenever somebody breaks up with somebody gets the bad end of it, right? right? Usually, sometimes it's equal, but somebody gets crushed, and we've all had that experience. Okay, you can't talk somebody through that experience, right? You just can't do it. It is that powerful. There's nothing that you can do or say. And then, the old joke, right? Every song you hear on the radio, right? And everything that you go through, it's that which drives somebody to find that feeling again. They know that they run the risk of being hurt, but the pursuit of a soulmate and that relationship and going through that feeling is worth it, knowing that you could be wrecked again, but that doesn't matter, does it?
Well, I think it depends on your perspective. I think people that, understand the way the universe operates and understand how reincarnation works, they look at it from a whole different point of view.
For
And
sure.
yeah, and so that's the hard part, And I think if you could look, I always say this to my clients, the biggest thing to look at when you go through something like that, go through a regression or whatever, is to ask yourself, what did I learn from this? Because that's their purpose. That's why a soulmate will come in. They'll come in before you become who you are today. When you're in the afterlife and you're planning your next life, okay, you're working with, there's a council of elders, which are like guidance counselors at school. They're looking at all your lifetimes, like all your report cards and what classes didn't you pass, because Earth is a school. And we come in here with a specific curriculum of issues and lessons that we want to learn, because we are spiritual beings in a physical body, not the other way around. So we decide, okay, I want to learn this, this, and this. And so we tell our fellow soulmates in the afterlife, hey, I'm going to come back to Earth as so-and-so. And this is what I want to learn. And then they'll go, okay, well, I'm going to come in with you. And let's say that you say to them, I want to learn what it feels like to be abandoned, because in my previous lifetime, I abandoned somebody, and I've got to balance that out now. And so they'll say to you, okay, I'll come in with you. And at some point, I'm going to abandon you. And
Ooh,
you're
man,
going
see, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, exactly. But see, the
Woo.
thing is that if you step back from it and you look at them as they must really love you to come in and because the whole point of it is to help you finish up that lesson and move on. So you don't have to deal with it anymore. So like I said, it's a perspective. If you're coming from mainstream thought, all of this seems like airy fairy stuff, and this doesn't really happen, and this is not the way the universe operates. But for me and for the thousands of people that have embraced this philosophy, it makes perfect sense. That's how I came to all of this, Jimmy. I was born and raised Catholic girl. I went 12 years to Catholic school. I had a lot of questions. Things just didn't seem like they made any sense to me. And I kept asking questions after questions, and nobody would give me a decent answer. And when I was a teenager, I started reading, books by Ruth Montgomery and Jess Stern and all those early teachers. I read Search for Bridie Murphy, and I thought, whoa, this makes reincarnation make perfect sense to me. It was like, oh, there is a just God. Things are in balance, and I started to read up about karma, and I thought, this makes a heck of a lot more sense to me about why the world is the way that it is, as opposed to believing in sin.
Well, the Catholic, I was baptized Catholic too, and nothing will open your eyes more than being raised Catholic, because when one thing, you know what I mean? It's like putting your finger, and when that comes crashing down, it's pretty wild how you start to look at life. And that, anybody that has gone through that as a Catholic knows exactly what we're talking about. For me, it happened when I was 21 years old, and it was rough. I didn't come out of my room for like 3 months.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting, Jimmy. I wrote a book about the Beatles. I was president of the Beatles fan club in the 60s. That just shows you how old I am.
What?
Yes.
You're not that. You're older than me.
Oh, I'm sure I am. Yeah.
You look amazing.
Thank you. So well preserved. But anyway, I wrote this book because I always wondered, how did a Catholic Italian girl from the south side of Chicago become a regression therapist, become a past life researcher? Because it just didn't, there was nothing in my growing up that would have put me in that direction. And then I thought, wonder if it was the Beatles. And so I started doing research. I pulled out all the newsletters that I had written, and I started doing research. I have about 60 books to read up on all of the things that they said in the realm of spirituality, which was mostly George Harrison, but still. And I came to the conclusion that, yes, they planted that seed. They planted that seed in my generation. And so, you know, this is why I feel like they had a big part of why I went into this particular field, why I was open to believing in all of this, because as a teenager, this is what I was being exposed to through the music and the interviews and all of that. So, yeah, so I think that, and I interviewed people too that were Beatle fans, that I asked them, you know, did you start to believe in this more metaphysical or spiritual lifestyle because of the Beatles? And you know, they all said yes. So anyway, that's sort of the way I got into it. But I could see how people that are believing this, who come to me, and I work with clients all over the world thanks to Zoom, and I do regressions with people everywhere, and everyone's the same. They all have the same desire, the same need to understand, you know, why am I having these relationship problems? Why do I keep attracting the same kind of people? You know, why do I make the same mistakes over and over again? What in the world did I do to so-and-so that he or she would treat me like this? So those, you know, and most of them are asking, you know, why am I here? I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing. What's my soul's purpose? These are all people that are looking for something above and beyond what they know in the physical realm. And so usually with regression, you only need one session and you get your answers. It's not like traditional psychotherapy where you have to go week after week after week. So I've seen a lot of people have these incredible aha moments in the course of an hour and a half session, you know, where they go, oh, that makes perfect sense. I've had so many people say to me, oh, you've lifted a burden that I've been carrying around with me for years and years and years. So it's very powerful therapy to help you understand.
Can I ask you a question? Well, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, but you made a comment earlier. I want to go back to it and then we'll move forward. But you said for those out there that aren't into this community, right, that have a different way of approaching life, don't understand what we're talking about and that part of relationships, well, and how the universe works. Well, that's a really good point. But those are the people that get slapped the hardest from the universe. You know what I mean? I'm being very serious. And the universe will keep you straight. And as soon as somebody starts thinking that way or avoiding the universe connection, the universe is going to reach out and touch you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's true. Now, what about, okay, so along the same lines, when somebody says, I've given up, or I'm tired of looking, or you know, what's wrong with me, that it's been a long time, and so is it because they're pushing too hard and not looking at themselves or looking to the universe, or just maybe quietly dealing with this in your own head and reaching out to the universe, manifesting in a way?
Yeah, I remember early on I had a very wise woman said to me, I was looking for somebody, and she said to me, nothing you can do will make it happen if it's not supposed to happen, and nothing you can do will stop it from happening if it's going to happen. And those words ended up being true, because, and this was not a soulmate, this was a twin. I was looking for this, who later I identified as a twin flame. but it took many, many years before that manifested. But you have to release and you have to surrender. And you know how it is sometimes when you want something desperately and then you finally give up and you think, the heck with it, then it comes to you. The moment you stop putting that energy, there it is. So, but then again, we're talking about a soulmate relationship again as a romantic partner. But my goal with the book was to try to enable people to broaden their definition of that word and to understand that you're surrounded by your soulmates. And I wish there was another way of differentiating a romantic partner rather than lumping them in, with that soulmate definition. But it is what it is. So,
well, people love that term.
They do.
They just, man. And you know what? If somebody finds their soulmate and they brag about it and everything, good on you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I really am. But man, I'm tired of hearing the word. We need something else for the dictionary when it comes to that. Let's get on to cellmate. What's a cellmate?
Well, as I mentioned, a cellmate is someone who keeps you emotionally imprisoned. So they come looking like a soulmate. So you know.
Isn't that a narcissist?
That's true.
Yeah.
They're harder to identify because, like I said, they come in looking like a soulmate, but they've got a completely different agenda. And they end up, their whole purpose is to create chaos in your life. And it challenges us, to deal with some of these karmic issues between us. But you love them so deeply because you think they're your soulmate, because that's how they come in. And so you're blinded. You've got blinders on. You don't see that they have a different agenda, because all you feel is this love, and it's love on a soul level, and that's a whole different kind of love. When you recognize someone that you've been with before, there are no words to describe that level of love. It's eternal, and so you tend to forgive them for a lot more than what you would forgive somebody else for. So it's really up to you to start identifying whether this relationship is keeping you in an emotional prison, or if it is inspiring you and empowering you. So every soul that comes into your life has a purpose, and nothing is random. So if you looked at it that way, they're here to help you learn something. So it's hard to step back when you're in the middle of all that pain. When you're wounded, you're not going to step back and go, let me see, what did I learn from this? That's really,
you learn how to break up is what you learn. And I'm not relationships and everything. I'm not making light of it, but yeah, you would learn how to break up. If that is the case, where can you therapy your way through that?
Yeah,
is
usually.
that something that can really? How do you approach somebody like that? If your soulmate, and you don't want to cry, you don't want to, say the wrong thing, but you need to bring it up somehow.
Well, you know what? In my work, the client does all the work. I'm merely a guide. So this is why I don't really believe in people who do readings. When they start spoon feeding you information about your past lives or anything like that, because that information is being filtered through their consciousness to you. I believe all answers, like Edgar Cayce said, all answers lie within. So I go to the heart of the matter. Your soul can retrieve information from any past life you've had. They're in the Akashic records. Go there and pull down your book and read about it. And when people do that work themselves, I'll guide them and I'll actually go with them. I'll see what they're seeing, but I won't interfere. I won't say, hey, look at that guy over there or whatever. When they see it themselves, this is where the power comes in, because they can believe it because they're seeing it and experiencing it in real time. So when they can understand the relationship from the past, the parallels, the behavior patterns that are the same, it's a very powerful thing, and it transcends the emotional charge that they're feeling in this lifetime. So when they go, oh, now I get it, now I understand, it makes sense to them. Because when you're in the middle of a breakup, it usually doesn't make any sense to you. You're like, I don't know what I did. I don't understand why this has to end. I still care for this person. But when you do a regression and you can see the pattern between the two of you from another lifetime, then it clarifies all of that. And so, and I think that is healing, just knowing what the source is, what the root cause of it is. And so, yeah, it's still painful because we're humans and we're going to experience it at that level. But when you understand it, when you understand the source of it and you get the full picture, it's a little easier to maneuver through it.
Can the universe find your soulmate on a dating app?
I don't know.
That's an honest question.
Probably. How many people have met on dating apps?
Today, everybody.
Everybody, I know. So that could be. I don't know.
I don't know either. I've never been on one. Anybody, let's say I go into the hospital. I have food poisoning.
Yeah.
And I'm in the hospital for a couple of months, and it turns into just some bad thing, right? I eventually get better. But over those couple of months, let's say some people come into my house to start taking care of things and start poking around on my computers, right? You know what they're not going to find? Dating apps. It's ain't going to be there. He's been in a coma for 3 months. Okay. What'd you find on his computer? Not much. There's not much there. I've never done it. I don't know the names of them. I kind of hear people talk about it, but apparently that's what people use these days. And the reason why I bring up the universe is that the internet, I think it's big enough now. It's got conscience. I think that the internet is nearly sentient, and the universe is using you and I to connect right now and to have a conversation. And the people that are listening are connecting on another level. They're in the chat room, right? So suddenly we are all entangled, if you know what I mean. So why wouldn't the universe affect a dating app? That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm sure that it could. Yeah. Why not? Right? How you meet somebody, like I said, what that woman told me, if you're meant to meet someone, it'll happen no matter what you do. And if you're not meant to meet someone, it won't happen. So that's just the way it works.
Yeah. And I think when you did you ever see the movie My Blue Heaven with Steve Martin?
I think so.
He's the gangster. He's a gangster from New York. He's got to come out to California, gets put in witness protection. He's going to testify in trial. But he's down in San Diego, and he's a fish out of water, right? It's a comedy. So he goes to the supermarket for the first time, and he's pushing his cart through, and he bumps into this woman, and he goes, "What's your name?" She goes, "Jolene." And he goes, "What are you doing in the frozen foods? You could melt all this stuff." And the point is, soulmates bumped into each other in the frozen foods, right? When you least expect it, that's the universe connecting, and you need to be aware of your surroundings. That's my take.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have a series of meetings that I've had with people that were just like that. When I least expected it, there they were.
How
And
about your
we ended
personal
up.
journey? As you started to figure this stuff out, is that did you get a crash course in self-discovery?
It wasn't a crash course. Took a long time.
What happened?
Well, no, I got into all this in 1987 when Shirley MacLaine's book Out on a Limb became a miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, she was talking about reincarnation, and it kind of woke me up. I think it woke up like thousands of sleeping metaphysicians, really. And then I decided to join the A.R.E. and I simultaneously started my own past life research organization. And I was inviting speakers, authors of, these kind of books to come. I was in Chicago at the time. And so that got me started. And I eventually got my hypnotherapy certification so that I could start doing regressions myself. I initially didn't want to do regressions. I thought of myself more. I identify myself as a reporter for the universe. So I like to observe and then write it out, because I'm basically a writer. That's what I've been for many, many lifetimes. And I wanted to just observe what was going on and then sharing that. But I had a speaker come once, and he said, Joanne, you know more about past life work than 95% of the people out there that are put out their shingle and say they're a past life therapist. Why aren't you doing this work? And I said, well, I don't feel called to do it. He goes, well, you should rethink it. And I'm glad that I did, because that's helped me to do my research projects when I have volunteers coming in, because all of my books are based on research projects. So that's how I sort of got started with it. And I've been doing it ever since. And it's just been a very humbling experience for me to work with people
Have you found your soulmate?
Well, when you talk about a romantic soulmate, no. In terms of twin flame, I did find my twin flame. I did find one person in particular who was a soulmate in a prior lifetime, but she was a he in that lifetime, and I was a she, and now in this lifetime we're both female. And we had a very tumultuous friendship in this lifetime, which is she ended up being a true cellmate, and that relationship ended. But I've had people coming in and out of my life that I've known from other lifetimes, and some of them have been good relationships, and others have been challenging. But I'm pretty keen on recognizing them, easier than I did before. So. And it took me a long time to get, I was focused on this 18th century past life that I had, which is why I moved to Virginia, which is where I live now, because that lifetime occurred here. So I came here chasing that lifetime to learn more about it. And that took me many, many years of working with other past life therapists who are helping me understand it. So it took me a while to integrate all that information into who I am today. But I think I'm finally there. I like that. I like to say I'm an old soul, but my definition of old soul is that we're slow learners. And that's me, I think.
Well, I'm asking that, and I'm not going to let any of this go. Okay. We're talking about you now. Yeah, I'm not going to let any of this go, because I think that it's important. How certainly not only through your own experiences, but for others, how do you, and I have, just let me say this. I have this conversation with my friends a lot because I want everybody's opinions on this. How do you bring this up with somebody else? It's so you've met somebody, right? You've met somebody, and you're thinking and you're feeling that. Well, then now you need to talk about this and bring up the possibility of reincarnation or hanging out in past lives or what a soulmate is or what without hopefully without freaking somebody out.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
how do you approach that?
I
I ask all of my friends, how do you do it?
yeah,
What do you do? You know, somebody's got to bring it up first. Right? Somebody's got to bring it up first. How do you do it?
well, for instance, I live in a very conservative area of Charlottesville, and which is not.
I was just there
You were.
last week in Charlottesville, Virginia.
You were. Wow.
I stayed at the Omni
Oh,
downtown.
downtown. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
What's that street with all the restaurants right there that no cars can go on?
On the main street, you mean?
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah,
I think
yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's called Main Street.
I don't go downtown very often, so I don't know. First of all, a lot of times you go to places where see, I have I feel like I'm living two different lives. One is the Joanne who does all this work, and the other one is the more mainstream Joanne, who's the mother and all of that, grandmother even. And so, like, if you go to Unity Church or if you go to the A.R.E, those people are going to speak your language. You don't have to edit anything. So you could freely talk about this stuff. If you're in a mainstream situation, what I do is I throw out words here and there and see what the reaction is to test the waters, so I won't come out, like my next door neighbor is a yoga teacher. So I figured she's safe to talk to about this stuff. You find out little things about them, or you throw out a word or a phrase, or, I just saw something on TV about reincarnation or something like that, to see their reaction. Then whether you could go a little deeper with them. But I've just identified really the places where it's safer to be able to share this without editing. I have to watch what I say with some of my friends. I was just in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and I saw some friends from high school, and so they know what I do, but I don't talk about it with them because they're not into this. So I honor that. Same thing with my family. My family is not into this at all, and so I don't think they've read a single book that I've written.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. My family doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, yeah.
I was with my mom, my stepmom. She was out here. I live in California. She's in the back seat, and we're driving around, and this just happened. And I could tell by what she was saying. And I looked in the rearview mirror, and I looked right at her, right in her eyeballs. I go, "Have you seen anything that I've done?" And the guilt. I shouldn't have asked the question. I knew the answer, right?
Yeah.
But she goes, "No." I was like, "Okay, all right, we can just move on." It's just bizarre to me. They're not interested. Not even because I'm in it, right? It's just not interested. But you bring up a really good point. By the way, I'm from Chicago too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we're soulmates.
There you go.
We're soulmates. I was born in Waukegan.
Oh.
Yeah. And so raised in North Chicago.
I'm
That's
a
where I went to.
Southsider.
Yeah, you're a Southsider,
Yeah.
like Dixie Highway, Chicago
I was
Heights.
in Bridgeport. I grew up in Bridgeport near Comiskey Park. And then I moved to the suburbs. I lived in Downers Grove and Naperville and Bolingbrook. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was completely north side, so Waukegan, Mundelein, North Chicago, that area, getting close to the Wisconsin border a little bit. But yeah, that's where I was born and raised. All those Edgar Cayce books that I was talking about, that was in Waukegan. That was North Chicago. Yeah.
I did a talk for the Edgar Cayce Holistic Center in Des Plaines while I was there a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I've maintained a connection to them, because when I first got involved and joined the A.R.E, they were regionalizing at that point, and they started a region in Chicago called the Heartland region, and I was involved in that core team. And that's how I met Brian Weiss through that. I met a lot of
Brian's cool. Yeah.
famous speakers through, because they would come into Chicago to do a talk, and I was on the core team, so I had an opportunity to meet them. So it was a real privilege for me, and I did a lot of volunteer work for A.R.E. Even when I moved out here, we continued to offer programs through our Unity Church, and I brought in speakers. And people really appreciated that. That was prior to COVID. So then since COVID, things have been a lot different, and most people are doing things on Zoom now instead of in person. But yeah, it was a real, to me, I miss that connection that you get when you're part of of a group. So when you
bring up a really good point. What about soulmates that aren't of the romantic kind?
Yeah.
Like colleagues, you're in a group and then suddenly you're becoming best friends with somebody, and you don't, is that a soulmate?
Yeah, I have in my, I talk about one case in particular. It's not in my book, about a group incarnation. And this fellow was, he worked at a university, and he had a group of people in his department that he did not get along with at all. And there was a lot of animosity between them. We did a regression, and he went back to ancient Rome, where he was a female, and must have had some level of authority or money or something, came from a good family, because he when he was a she, he was seated, he said, near the emperor, and he said that he admired the gladiators, and he'd always put his thumb up that he wanted to save them, and the rest of the group was going like this. So in the regression, he said that he felt that this group around him in Rome was out to get him. They wanted to kill him. They were going to poison him, and he was very paranoid about them. And he finally, or she finally, died by her own hand. But the words that he used to describe them, we called them a bunch of sociopaths and stuff like that. Then he was talking about the people at the university here, and he said he used the exact same words to describe them. Well, that's the same group of souls that was in Rome with him. And they came back, and they were giving him all holy hell in this lifetime, because he didn't finish with them. He took the coward's way out by committing suicide. So he never finished that karma with them. He didn't resolve that karma. And so what happens? They waited a long time, but there they were again. So there's a lot of instances.
How do you resolve it? How do you resolve it once?
Well, see, in this lifetime, he didn't resolve it either, because he quit his job. He left, rather than working it out with these people, or figuring out, what was his role in all of this, and how did maybe his thinking was wrong about it. Maybe they really didn't feel that way about him. So that part of it, didn't get fixed. It was unfinished business from this Roman lifetime, and it got brought into this one. So now whether I don't even know if he's still with us. I don't know whether he ever resolved it or not, but it will be interesting to find out. But I have cases like that in all through my books, about, especially the book on physical karma, where people have incarnated again with the same group of people that caused them a lot of pain in a prior lifetime. There's a book.
I'm sorry, just interrupted. Right. You said there's a book called.
There's a book called Mission to Millborough by Marge Ryder, and it's about a group of 15 people in California who were all together in this little town in Virginia during the Civil War. So that's sort of a fascinating read as well, about a group, group incarnation, if you're interested in that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So, Bob, why did you fire the whole division of the company? Well, it was a group incarnation, man. I had unfinished business, right?
Oh gosh.
Well, you know what I mean? Where there is a serious take on this, and somebody that has been affected by unfinished business or by karma for so many years that make decisions in life, and people don't understand why. And I'm making a joke of it, but what I'm saying is sometimes people don't bring it up, or they don't know why they are actually doing it. Right.
Well, most people go through life without questioning it. Because, in the West, most people don't believe in reincarnation. I think the last statistic I saw said only about 30% of Americans believed in it. But if you go to the East, it's the complete opposite. Everybody believes in it. So, many people go through their entire life without even giving it a second thought. And then there's people like me that's all we think about. So, it's interesting. But it's the same regardless of whether you believe in it or not. It's still there.
I was, to stay on this point, when I was 21 and I'm going through this Catholic rinsing, right? I'm going through this. And there was this older guy at this company that I worked for. And I was going through this trauma, right? And I asked him one time, I said, so man, you seem to have it all figured out. He looks at me and he goes, look, man, reincarnation. Just like that. It's a black guy, by the way. And I said, reincarnation. He goes, just go and read. And it was great. And that took me down another road. But it was just so interesting where he didn't say, dude, go check out Nepal. Go check out this. Go read up on the Dalai Lama. No, he didn't say anything like that. He just said reincarnation and sent me on my way. And off I went down that path. But it was very enlightening for me. Very enlightening. All right, let's take our break right here. Joanne DiMaggio is with us. Tonight, it is soulmate or cellmate. No, soulmate versus cellmate. This conversation is going to continue after this short break. Stay right there, Joanne. We'll be right back. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Jimmy Church Guy TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Joanne DiMaggio is with us. The show tonight is Soulmates versus Cellmates. Great conversation. And I wanted to ask you, staying on the cellmate side of things, with a romantic relationship that tends to be a competition. Yeah. That, you know, you go at things like that. It could potentially get very toxic too, as well, coming from both sides. Is that how do we approach that, and what are the warning signs?
Well, I had in my book, there's a chapter about a competitive relationship, but it was between a brother and a sister. So, and that's common for soulmates to come through as siblings. And these two have been together since, he said, the beginning of time. He was tracing them back a long, long time. But in one lifetime that he recalled, she was sabotaging him because he had power and she wanted it. And so she just was obsessed with power, and they eventually went their separate ways. But in this lifetime, she was doing the exact same thing. You know, if he played ball, she had to play ball and be better than him. And this was going on all the time. And I asked him, how are you going to overcome this karma? How is this going to end? How are you going to end this? If this is a pattern that's been going on since, you said, the beginning of time, you want to go through eternity, you know, competing with her? And he said she needs to give up the power grab and learn a different way. That was his solution. But whether she'll ever do that or not, I don't know. But that was a situation in a brother-sister relationship. And I also had one in a father-daughter relationship where there was that competition. And she's married to well, in the past life, they were father and daughter. In this life, they're husband and wife. And she recalled that in the previous life, her father was a hypnotist. He was mesmerizing people and defrauding them, convincing them to give him money or something like that. She learned the craft, and she learned it better than him. And he was very jealous, and he didn't want her to do that. And so he wanted to hypnotize her to get her to stop doing it, and she wouldn't let him. And I think she was 15 years old, and he went in her room and he strangled her to death. And she's had a whole history of throat trauma, karma. And this is common for people that have had a trauma of some sort in their body, that would repeat. So they have since gotten a divorce, obviously. She learned her lessons as well in that relationship. So, like I said, it's important to be able to step back and understand, what is this all about, Alfie? I mean, why are things the way they are? What did I learn anything from this? Am I going to be better for what I've learned? And then when you do that, then you resolve the karma and you don't have to deal with it again.
Can your parents be a cellmate?
Absolutely.
Oof.
Absolutely.
Now, okay, so now you can't walk away from that relationship.
No, but you have to remember, you chose your parents in that pre-life planning session. When you were planning your life, you picked out your mother and you picked out your father, and you did it because only that woman as your mother and that man as your father could teach you the things that you needed to learn. No other man or woman would have been able to do that as your parent. So you deliberately picked them. And I love to tell my clients that, and I've always loved to tell my children that. Well, you picked me. What do you complaining about?
Right.
Yeah. So, there's a reason that we pick our parents. There's major lessons that we learn, and some of them are not very pleasant. I had a mother-daughter example in my book. They'd been together in many lifetimes. And the most recent was during the Russian Revolution. And the daughter escaped, but the mother didn't. And in this life, they reversed. She feels guilty. She still is carrying that guilt of abandoning her mother back then. And so they've had a very tumultuous relationship in this life as a result of that. So, it could be mother and child. It could be siblings. It could be work colleagues. There's group karma in like your church, or like A.R.E. even. It's like, I remember one of the speakers there used to call A.R.E. Karma House, because, we're all searching for the same identical thing. And then we start bumping into each other, and, your soulmates and your cellmates know you on a very intimate level because they've been with you for so many lifetimes. So they know what buttons to press, and they do. And, it can be very, very painful to work through those, work through all of that. And it's hard to look at it from that higher perspective, but that's really the goal of all this work, is to be able to look at it for what it is, and understand that everything that happens for a reason, and there's a lesson behind it.
But a cellmate for a parent, that seems very complicated.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it still falls in that category of lesson learning. So it depends on, I see so many clients who have terrible relationships with their parents. They've either been abused or abandoned. They have alcoholic parents. I
didn't have any of that, at least not to my memory. But my dad very early on bailed on the family, bailed on the kids, and he was in the military. But that's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to get into that. But he wrote me this email back in the 90s, and I get this email from him, and I grew up without him. Well, it's a longer story, but certainly as an adult, I had like a zero relationship with him. Mm-hmm. And but he sends me this email, and the email says, I'm starting to get up there in years, and I'm reflecting on life. And this is the email. All right, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he says, and I feel kind of bad, and I just want to just get back and build these relationships again with all of you kids. And I said, my reply was, you know what? I'm good. We can leave things where they are. What you did teach me was how to be a good father, because I will never treat my children the way that you treated your children. And I felt cleansed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've had
I just got it out.
yeah. Yeah. I've had
And so
clients say
that was a lesson. It was a lesson learned.
yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
My daughter cannot get rid of me. I am all up in her business. You know what I mean? And she loves it. She loves it. And here's the other thing. It's just technology. And I want the whole audience to listen to what I'm saying. My daughter tracks my phone. Okay? She knows where I am all the time. And I could be in some city or some other country, and I'll get a text from her going, Dad, you're all over the mountain today. And I love that. Right? That we are,
yeah.
we have everything that I never had as a kid.
Yeah.
So that's the life lesson. You
Yeah.
know?
I've had many a client who say that they pick their parents so they would know what not to do. How not to be. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
It is. And it's the same thing when we choose our parents. And again, I know some people have never heard these terms before, and we're talking about it right now where they're going, what are you talking about? But I believe that is the case. I really do.
Yeah, in your pre-life planning session, you really look at the parent from the point of view of what is the socioeconomic conditions I'm going to be born into. So you know ahead of time, okay, I'm going to be, like in my case, I was born into an Italian-American family. I knew I was going to be raised Catholic. I knew I was going to be raised on the south side of Chicago. And that there'd be all this internal kind of family squabbles and stuff like that, chaos that would go on. So, coming into it, what race you're going to be, what your ethnic background will be, what your nationality will be, that's all worked out in advance. And you pick them for that reason. You pick them so that you may pick somebody that's really in a, another country and another religion, and maybe your nationality would be and a lot of that has to do with your own karma, and in terms of what race you're going to be. So I really tell people we have been all races. We have been all people. We've been, have had lifetimes in many, many countries. We have been both male, we've been female, so I think if everybody understood that and accepted that, there would be absolutely no prejudice existing, because you're looking at yourself. This is who you were at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I look at the world. I don't see color. I just see souls. And we take on this body. This is our little vehicle that gets us through X number of years on the planet. And then we leave and, we spend some time in the afterlife, and then we come back again if we choose to. So every 50 to 200 years, we're incarnating again. And we don't incarnate necessarily within the same family. So you have a whole different family the next time around. Like I said, you could be living in a whole different country and be a completely different ethnic background. So, but it's all in the name of learning. That's why we came to planet Earth in the first place, as souls. We wanted to know what it was like to be here. And there are things you can only experience in a physical body that you can't experience when you're in spirit. So, so that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we're doing. And I love
That's such a fascinating thing to say. I have to jump in because I find that so compelling. So many, and it's a lot, so many are looking to the past and looking at their daddy or mommy issues and complicating their life today instead of approaching it differently. That there's a reason for that. Don't be bitter, don't be resentful, no, just learn from it and move on. That's why I don't agree with a lot of philosophers. And I read the books, I listen to them, I go through it, but I just go, that's somebody that hasn't worked out their daddy issues.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
now, again, I'm not making light of it, but you can read through what they are actually saying. They have issues in their own life that they haven't worked out yet, and they're putting that out there on others. It tends to help other people because they look at themselves. I get that. But most of it is, I mean, I could write a book on philosophy today, seriously, on what not to do. It's like, because I could look back, and so many of us can, and I could be really pissed off at my dad or my mom or whatever. No, I learned, I worked it out a long time ago. My dad died a few months ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And no, don't be sorry. He lived to 88. He smoked weed his entire life. He was a musician. He did life his way. Right? He made his own life choices. But when he passed away, I wasn't emotional. I didn't leave anything on the table like, oh man, I did. No, I worked all that stuff out.
Yeah.
And I was not, I talked to my brother Danny about this, and this is very important. The reason why we pick our parents. My brother Danny and I, who I love my brother to death. He's great. We both were thinking the same thing. All right. Not really sad. He did it his way. And we learned from it. And we both had the exact same conversation. It was bizarre. Not really bizarre, but I was happy that my brother looked at it that way too, as well. And I think that so many out there would benefit from that. If you had a great dad, awesome, right? You have no dad, great, fantastic. But if you had something that was messed up, just learn from it.
Yeah.
Don't let the negativity or the thoughts bring you back. What are you supposed to learn from this so you can improve and be a better person? Like I said, my daughter's sick of me and I love it.
That's why when I did my book on the pre-life planning session, which was basically life between lives, I named the book, I did it to myself again, because in all the years I've been doing this work, it's all I hear is blame. It's my mother's fault. It's my father's fault. It's my husband's fault. It's my wife's fault. It's my children's fault. And then I wanted people to see that, no, you kind of planned this out a lot more than you think you did. And so we go into that pre-life planning, and they see, that they had a hand in all of this and in planning this particular lifetime. And they brought in with them issues that have been on the back burner, sometimes for 1,000 years. And they're only dealing with it now. I had a client the other day who she went back to a lifetime, and she wasn't really sure when it was, but she said it was BCE sometime. So she's dealing with the issues from 2,000 years ago, but that's the way it works. But we do pick, we do the framework. Now we have free will, and at any point in time, we can change our minds about this plan that we had and go in a different direction, which is what my book about Edgar Cayce and Thomas Jefferson Davis was about. Cayce did a reading on this 2-day-old baby boy and said he had been the reincarnation of Thomas Jefferson and Alexander the Great. And then Cayce said, this soul could do for the world what Jefferson did for this country. Well, of course, he didn't do any of that. And so he got a lot of bad vibes from the people at A.R.E. and because he didn't fulfill Cayce's prophecy. But there was a reason for that, and the reason was free will. And so I kind of went into that in the book. I was trying to help people understand the role that they play. And, you know, somebody could give you the most brilliant kind of future prophecy, you know, but you at any given time can say, I'm going to go in another direction, and then so much for that prophecy, right? So, those are our choices. We have choices. We have free will, and that can negate anything that we originally set out to do if we so choose.
Isn't that the hardest thing for people to recognize and admit? If you spend 1,000 years of blame and pointing fingers, there's a trend there.
Yeah, it's a pattern. Right.
There's a pattern.
Right.
It just may not be the world. It may be you.
Yeah, and sometimes in a regression, I'll have people break down and just start sobbing because they see that they were the instrument by which their life took that turn. That was all they're doing, their decision making. But that's also healing in the same way. You know, and I tell people, if you have emotion in a regression, it shows it's a real memory, because I can't make you cry. And so a lot of them, it's a release for them to finally have that aha moment, you know, and have that realization that they played a role in what's going on. And then it's quite beautiful if you really stop and think about it, you know, the way our lives have been the way we weave them in and out with different people, different circumstances, different challenges that come up, you know, and even those of us who think we're so advanced, you know, and that we know we have this awareness, it'll still come and hit us in the face. I mean, there's no way around it sometimes.
I love it. I'll freely use the word love here. I love it when I finish somebody's sentence, or they finish mine, or a friend, or I see two other people doing it where their minds are just thinking alike. Yeah. It's amazing when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Now, is that a twin flame thing, or is that a soulmate thing?
It sounds more like a twin flame thing than a soulmate thing. Because like I said, a twin flame is someone that has the same agenda that you do, so you'd be on the same wavelength with them. Yeah.
Can we talk about continue talking about free will for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the world of science, the hard sciences, there is no free will, and they love to crack jokes about it.
Yeah.
They do. They crack jokes, right? And we thought that was free will, but actually, you know, and ha 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 ha. It's a weird thing when you get into the determined world of math and science.
Yeah.
That they actually live their life of not only no free will, but all of their decisions are determined by math. Isn't that crazy that they live their life that way?
Yeah. Yeah. The very analytical.
It's predetermined. Everything is predetermined. You know, something as simple as ordering a vanilla or a chocolate shake at the counter, and you're going, screw it, strawberry. I'm doing strawberry today. And then some non-spiritual, atheist, pragmatic scientist standing next to you in line is going to go, that's not free will, man. You were going to make that decision anyway. That's the math working itself out. and their life is like that, where they don't have a sense of wonder.
Yeah, yeah. I have somebody in my family like that. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, the reason why I want to discuss free will, and certainly consciousness comes into this, but how important is free will? And to have that as an option all day, every day of your life, of any life that you would live.
Well, that's like you're guiding your North Star. I mean, if you're going in a certain direction, um, and you don't want to go in that direction anymore, you can make a course correction. That's free will. You know, the my book on Cayce and Thomas Jefferson Davis, Cayce said all those things about him, about this little boy, and what he could accomplish as an adult, provided his parents did X, Y, Z. He laid it all out for them, including what school to send him to, how to raise him, how to feed him, all of that. And they chose not to do any of that. And so Cayce died when TJ was only 8 years old. And so he didn't have him as a guiding star anymore. And, they never sent him to that school that Cayce told them to send him to. And so after Cayce died, this little boy was sort of left, thrown from pillar to post. And, people could read about it in the book because it's a long story. But in any event, I just showed how there were certain points in his life where he could have made a different choice, or his parents could have made a different choice. And if they had, his life would have gone in a different trajectory. And that didn't happen. So he, disappointed a lot of people who thought he was going to be this great savior of the world. Mm-hmm. And he ended up being more like a hippie vagabond, So, yeah, I mean, it's very difficult, especially if you're in a groove, like if you've been doing something for years and years and years and you're comfortable with that, for you to suddenly make a decision, well, I'm not going to do that anymore, I'm going to do this other thing. You have to listen to your inner voice, that still small voice within that's there to guide you, or, if you know how to work with spirit, if you work with your spirit guides, that help is always available to you 24/7. People don't really think about that. That you do have someone assigned to you to help you out if you need it. I do that through what I call soul writing. It's a written form of meditation that I teach. And it's writing.
Wait. You got me there. What is that?
Soul writing is writing in an altered state of consciousness. It's so it's a written form of meditation, basically. So you know how when you pray, you're talking to God. When you meditate, God is talking to you. When you do soul writing, you're taking notes of that meditation.
Do you know what you're writing?
Oh yeah, it's not automatic writing. I want everybody to understand that there is a difference between.
Yeah, my mom did automatic writing. I would watch her do it. She would do, Joanne, I would trip out. I didn't know what was going on. So I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, and I'm looking up at the dining room table. I'm going to bed, right? I'm in my PJ. I'm going to bed. And my mom would have a ream of paper on the table. And I would watch her. She would look at the ceiling and she'd have a pen and she would write like this. Not like this, like we write, right? She's writing, looking at, and then flip the page over. And so I'd wake up in the morning to go to school, and that whole ream of papers flipped over and written on.
Wow.
And she did it all the time. And so I asked her once, I'm just a kid. I go, what are you writing? She goes, I don't know. She's like, I don't know. Do you read it? No, not really. What? Yeah. I was blown away. I thought that everybody's parents were like that.
Yeah.
I really did. Okay, so back to your version.
Yeah.
Do you go back and read it?
Oh yeah. I mean, in my newsletter, I put a soul writing message every month for people. It's generic for everybody. But you can use it for all kinds of purposes. You could use it to find out past life information. You can have a conversation with your past life personality back and forth. Matter of fact, Frank DeMarco wrote this wonderful book called Chasing Smallwood, and that's what he was doing. He was communicating with with Joseph Smallwood, who was one of his past lives during the Civil War. So there was this whole conversation going on in that book. It was fascinating. A lot of people use it. A.R.E. frowns on automatic writing because you could get into trouble with that. They're worried about possession. Because with soul writing, you always say a prayer before you do it, and you surround yourself with white light, and then you're safe. But there's Edgar Cayce's son, Hugh Lynn Cayce, wrote a book called Venture Inward, and in the book he has a whole chapter of people who got into trouble with the automatic writing, and they went to A.R.E. to see if somebody could help them out with it. So that was my thesis for my master's degrees, and I've written 2 books about soul writing, and I find I add it now sometimes to the past life work I do, because it'll enable you to go in a little deeper. It'll answer any questions. It's a 24/7 like hotline to spirit, so you could use it anytime you want. You can ask questions. You can ask for a message. Some people use it to talk to deceased loved ones. I've never done that. But yeah, you could use it for arts and, when I wrote my book about the Beatles, I found out that both John Lennon and Paul McCartney used a form of soul writing when they've written some of their music.
Oh, is that right?
And so did Paul Simon. They were talking about where does the muse come from? Where does the inspiration come from? And many times it feels like somebody else is doing the writing, but it's coming from your soul. It's coming from above through your soul and out your hand. So it's very powerful, and it's a powerful tool with the soul writing, with the past life regression. And I encourage my clients sometimes to learn how to do it, to stay with it that way, because when you do a regression, it doesn't end after that hour and a half or 2 hours. You'll continue. You've opened the door now, and spirit will continue to send you different, clues, and you'll have a dream about your past life. You'll be watching TV or listening to music, and suddenly you'll get a memory flash. So it'll go on beyond the session with me, and the soul writing helps them to really focus and to get some answers from spirit that they normally wouldn't have.
Have you? It just came out last week. There's a new documentary. It's amazing, on the Zombies, the band. Yeah, the band, and I didn't know. Well, it's a couple of things, but they really talk about how they did the songwriting, and the state of mind that they achieved in doing it. But when they did that, this is the crazy thing, and I guess it had to be they were like 19 years old. 19 years old, making connections like that with the self, and cranking out songs that will last forever. I mean, time of the season, right? Now, and what a great song, right? She's Not There. What a great song. 19 years old.
Yeah.
What are you connecting with that you write a masterpiece like that?
Well, you're connecting to your higher self. You're connecting to spirit. You're connecting to your soul. Any number of origination points. I've got a group of like 9 spirit guides that I work with. So depending on the question I'm asking, that one will come through, the one that knows the most about that.
Does it happen when you write a book too?
It can if I were to allow it. If I would say to myself, well, you could tell in my soul writing book portions that I've written in a conscious state as opposed to what I've written in an altered state of
Is it your
consciousness.
better? Is it?
It's
Be
better.
honest.
It's
Is
way
it the better
better.
stuff? Yeah.
It's much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Whenever
that's what people say when they do that writing. They go, "Oh, I didn't write that." I go, well, "Who do you think wrote it?" It's like it was you. It was a different part of you.
my best guitar solos, right? When I'm recording, I don't know. I don't even remember it. And somebody will go, "Man, wow. Okay." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know."
You're in the zone.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I kind of want to wrap up with the time that we have left, talking about karma. Again, I think it's a very misused word. I mean, a very misused word, but also it has invaded pop culture where everybody uses it for their own reasons. What is karma?
Karma is the law of cause and effect. So you reap what you sow. So whatever your thought, word, or deed is, it's recorded in the Akashic records. And we live in a universe that's balanced. If you do something that takes you out of balance, if you swing too far to the left or too far to the right, something's going to happen to bring you back to center. That's what the karma is about. It's bringing you back to center. So sometimes karma can be an eye for an eye. Now, Cayce talked about instances in which people had like this one person he did a reading for had been blinding people in another lifetime with red hot pokers, and in this life he's blind. Or somebody that made fun of people that were obese, in this life they're dealing with weight issues. I did a whole book on physical karma, and that comes up as well. I had one fascinating man who went back to a lifetime in the Civil War, and he was a Confederate officer, and he had the habit of cutting off the thumbs of the Union soldiers because he didn't want to kill them, but he didn't want them to be able to hold a saber or a gun. So he would lop off their thumbs. And in this lifetime, he has arthritis. And where is it? Only in his thumbs. So I have had a lot of clients coming in where you could see the correlation between something they did in the past with what they're dealing with today. So that's the karma that we're talking about. It's the setting right to something that, either something that was done to them or something they did to somebody else. It comes in all kinds of forms. And karma is not always bad. Many times I tell people, you may have some skills, talents, and abilities that you brought in with you from other lifetimes. How you say, well, nobody in my family plays an instrument. I don't understand where that came from. Well, it came from another lifetime. Same thing with people who are good with numbers or are carpenters or, they have other skills and talents and abilities. That's all karma. That's all from another lifetime that they brought in with them. I tell them that's their positive karmic bank account. So if you finished a lesson and you accomplished, what you came here to do in that particular category, it goes into this karmic bank account. You could pull on it at any time. So
hopefully it's high interest.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Now, so what about yourself? Okay, now I'm going to analyze you. I'm going fully young right now, right? But you are of service to others today, right? That's what
Yeah.
So in a past life, were you a taker instead of a giver?
I don't know that. I know that I have a history of being a scribe, writer in previous lifetimes.
I'm referring to in a karmic sense.
I know.
Today you're kinder, gentler, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I might have been. I don't know. I haven't explored all. I mean, I know about 13 to 15 past lives that I've had.
Were they all positive?
No, not at all. The last lifetime I had, I was enslaved. I had a Native American life. I had one in Jamestown. I had one in, I remember as far back as, Atlantis. I had an Atlantean lifetime. But then that's not unusual. About 95% of all Americans are former Atlanteans, which is kind of interesting considering technologically we're almost where we were before Atlantis disappeared.
I ask this because I think about this a lot, because I'm a case study of one, right? Me today. And I have a conflicting personality. On one side, I'm kind of a dick. Okay? I am. But the other side of me, which is the bigger side, I have so much empathy and compassion towards people. And I don't like that to show. I want the dickish side of me to be the one that people see, because I think that sometimes I'm trying to hide that. And I want that to be my own personal joy, where I glow inside, where I'm helping somebody and or kindness and things. But I do that when I'm alone. It makes sense. I mean, I do it in front of people for sure, but that's more ego and bragging. When I do it in front of other people, I want people to see it. But I think that it's a personal joy, and I want to do it. I search for it. I look for the opportunities, because these are gifts from the universe, right? And I really enjoy it. But then, so I lie awake at night thinking, you were a really bad person before, because now you're in payback mode today. I don't know what it also, and I would love your comments on that, because it's something that I don't fight it. I enjoy it, but it is a definite pattern in my life that I've had since I was a child. Yeah, it's very strange. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, you might be having some subconscious memory seeping in, and if you have something that plays over and over in your head, the same mantra, that's, especially if it's negative or anything like that, that is a past life thing. Sometimes one of the questions I ask people are, what are your last thoughts as your soul leaves your body? Because that often sets up the next lifetime. And oftentimes they'll say something that that they were saying on their deathbed in the previous life, that they bring it into this life, and they're repeating that same pattern again. So there might be something, nobody goes into a past life. A lot of people don't want to do it because they're afraid they're going to see something negative, that they did something
for
that
sure
they're ashamed of. But I try to tell them we've all done that. Not a single one of us has gotten away with, that we've never had a lifetime in which we're not ashamed of our actions. But hopefully we learn from them, and then, you move on. That's just part of being human. That's part of the curriculum here on Earth, right? So, so that could be just a subconscious loop that's playing in your mind that, may stop you from being this other person all the time. I've had, especially if people are healers, if they were a healer in a previous lifetime, they'll come to me now and they'll go, I have a sense I should be doing some healing work with people, but something's stopping me. I don't know what it is. We go back to the previous lifetime, and what do you think happened? They were persecuted because of their ability. And they might be out in the forest gathering herbs for an ointment of some sort, and they're constantly looking over their shoulder because they're worried somebody's going to grab them, and they'll be tried as a witch or something like that. So in this life, that's playing over and over in their head. Don't do it, you're going to get killed or whatever. And so there's a wall up that they can't get past, even though that is what the work they're supposed to be doing. So we kind of work through all of that. But those subconscious messages can really mess with your mind, and either stop you from doing something or compel you to do something you shouldn't be doing. So that's part of what past life work really works to alleviate, to identify and then work through it.
I had somebody come up to me in Charlottesville last week, come up to me and say, okay, so Jimmy, I just wanted to say that last night I was offended by some of the things that you said. I said, I'm going to stop you right there. Okay. If I don't say those things to you, then I don't love you. All right. If I am kind to you all of a sudden, you need to look at yourself going, did I do something wrong? You know? And I don't say that in jest. What I had said to this person, I said, I don't wear a mask. You know, I'm not pretending. It's just the freedom of thought and being yourself. That's it. And so you need to accept that. I accept you for who you are. And that's just it. But just remember, man, it's all out of love. And if it stops, then you've got something else to think about. Because I feel like I am paying a debt. I feel that there's some karma thing, the universe, because I can't get rid of these feelings of compassion and of constantly wanting to extend a hand. And I know that so many, when I do it, whether I'm at a checkout line or I'm wherever this goes down, in front of a store or a homeless park, wherever these opportunities present. The other day I paid for somebody's gas at a gas station, and they didn't ask for it. They were just pumping gas. I just did it. And they were inserting their, it doesn't even matter. I don't even want to tell the story, but I went over and paid for the gas, and it was a mom and her kid, and she drove away. And she was happy, but I was watching her. Now, how many people ignore that? Right. Or and they're watching me, and they're acting surprised, like they've never seen this before. Well, maybe that's my little way of helping the world, one example at a time, showing people how you can be. You don't have to be just inside of your bubble, that there is other things that are going on out there.
Right.
So now, really quick, I don't know if I have switched genders in past lives.
You have.
I don't have. It's really weird. When you said that earlier, I had to stop and think about that. I've talked about this a lot, and I've been regressed once. I've been hypnotized one time.
You're one gender over the other about 75% of the time. So like
really
in my case, I've been female for most of my lifetimes, but I have had male lives. We all do, because you can't learn anything if you're always in the same body.
Really, I don't have any vibrations about that.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any about being male, but I know from regressions that I have been, or from other ways that I've looked at my previous life. I haven't had too many of them, but I've had some. I prefer being female. That's one of the questions I ask in a regression too. If we're doing the pre-life planning, I'll ask them, why did you choose the body that you have? What was the advantage of it? Why did you want to be female? And most of the women that choose to be female say it's because they want that nurturing body. They want to give birth. They want to experience that. And I find that women don't have a problem with being male, but males have a big problem being female. They don't like it at all. And they'll say, and I'll ask why. Well, I feel powerless. I don't have any strength.
Okay.
I like my male body, and the women like that too. They like having that strong, body. But Yeah, so that's the statistic I've read from others that have done research in this area, that it's 75% of one or the other.
Really?
Yeah.
I have not had any vibes or thoughts. I dream and do all kinds of, but my visions that I have had of past lives, I've never been a king or a queen or a knight or some powerful figure. It's always been average or below average, I should
Yeah,
say.
most people aren't. Talk about people saying they have famous past lives. I don't run into that too often, but I have had people, who have remembered being somebody famous in a prior lifetime. Um,
But I've
and,
never had a
and
feminine vibration.
hmm,
Weird. I wanted to make this one comment. I actually have two, and we're at the end of the show, and I meant to get both of these in. I have found my soulmate, by the way, my Harley Davidson.
okay,
Oh, 100%. I'm not playing.
okay,
I'm not playing. Oh, you laugh. I'm being serious. There is something about the connection, the meditation, the freedom, the open
oh, I
head.
believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I look forward to the connection that I achieve, and I try to do it every single day. But there is something real there.
Mm.
There's a soul in that machine. I
Mhm.
mean, like it's bizarre. So I wanted to share that with you, and maybe we can get together and write a chapter in the book.
Does this soulmate have a name?
I've gone back and forth.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't want to say it publicly.
oh, okay.
But I think I'm about to do the reveal though. But I'm serious, man. We talk like for real. I don't want to sound crazy like it's some deep-seated psychosis or something, but yeah, it's for real. But here's the other thing that I wanted to say. Pets.
Yes.
When I look at pictures of my three previous dogs, right? All three are no longer with us on this plane of existence. But I look at those pictures in their eyes,
Yeah.
and it rips my heart out.
Yeah.
And while they are alive, that is the crazy. If we could have relationships with humans like we do with dogs, I can't speak for cats. I know nothing about, or birds or whatever.
Yeah.
But dogs, oh my, right? Why
Yeah.
can't we have that in a relationship? Some people achieve it, I get it, but it's something that I'm not making up, am I?
Oh no, I mean they are the epitome of unconditional love. And they belong to their own little group, soul group. And they come back to you, in another little doggy body if you want them to. And they kind of hang around too. Sometimes people have reported, getting a sense that, they, out of the corner of their eye, they thought they saw the dog, or they felt something in bed with them, or, something like that after they have passed over. And, they go to the Rainbow Bridge, and all of that. They have a lot to teach us about love, I think, and our interaction with them. So yeah, that's a beautiful relationship, and I think everybody should experience that at least once in their life.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. Yeah, I mentioned my dad passed away a few months ago. And okay, every dog that I have had, every pet that has left, wrecked me. Wrecked me so bad. I got a lump in my throat just bringing it up, right? but so bad that if somebody, and I did it this past weekend, when somebody brings up a pet and they want to start telling that story, I'm like, stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
I can't handle it. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Moving on. What a beautiful day. The sun's out. Look at these clouds.
Yeah.
I can't. No. I'm not playing around. I cannot have that conversation.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful it is. That's a real soulmate. Joanne, what a great show, and I look forward to our next conversation. Just
Me
a perfect
too.
night. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Where can everybody reach out to you?
I think on my website, it's joannedimaggio.com, and you can sign up for, if you're interested in a regression, you can do that right online, get an appointment. And there's other information on where I'm going to be speaking and my books and any research projects that I'm working. You can sign up for my monthly newsletter, and that always has an article about reincarnation, a case study, and a soul writing message. So I welcome emails from people too at joannedimaggio.com.
Thank you so much. We have the links below on our website and throughout social media. JoanneDiMaggio.com. Thank you so much, Joanne.
Thanks,
Have a great night. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
I found a soulmate tonight. I'll talk to you.
Okay, bye.
Have a great night. What a perfect night on the show. Thank you so much, Joanne. And tomorrow night as well, I want to give everybody the heads up. Tomorrow night, Helena Wabe is with us, and we're going to be talking about noetic sciences and her work at IONS. So it's going to be a great conversation tomorrow night. Thank you, Joanne. Amazing stuff tonight. I just love getting my learn on. So I'll see everybody tomorrow night. Thank you, Joanne. But for now, all I've got is go backly tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go backly tappy.